you can be really depressed when you don't love your job and you think that you should. You can go to work and have the most joyous outside work life. You travel and your out of work time is blissful and is everything that you want, and work is just to get you there. And that's okay too. Yep, General Manager for Australia and New Zealand.
But is that the first, that's what they offered you?
No, I think it was day one. I had a meeting with Birchie, one of the co-founders, and he said, actually, Soph, I know it's your first day on the job. I thought, Christ, it's my phone. Jesus Christ, I've stuffed up and it's only day one. He said, actually, how about you become GM? And I went...
Just sat down with Sophie Wright, General Manager of OpenSolar. Incredible company offering a free service to installers, both commercial and domestic installations, battery storage, EV, charging, and of course heat pumps. We also discussed the role of AI, its ever-increasing role and the ramifications it has for our industry, and a whole lot more. So sit yourself down, strap yourself in, and let's get stuck into it.
What did you study?
Economics many years ago, but I didn't finish that degree. I partied too hard, and at about third year, I went, why am I doing economics when I really like botany and biology and stuff like that? But I didn't do a maths or a language in year 12, and stupidly listened to my parents because economics was my best subject in year 12. And then after that, I was working with my father. No, this is the tables have turned. This will never happen. I did a diploma in conservation land management, so I've got a background in that.
Oh, wow.
I was building. I did a straw bale house in the 90s.
That's cool.
It was, and I wish I did more of them. And then got involved in renewables in 2000, and first job in 2002, 2003, Queen Vic Market. And then did a little bit of work for a couple of years, but there was nothing going on apart from the odd off-grid job.
Yeah.
So I went, and that's when I went and studied Diploma of Conservation Land Management, worked down the Mornington Peninsula for many years, and then got back into renewables in 2009 or so, and haven't left since then. Yeah. So I've seen a lot of changes.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Two things. Learning every day, no such thing as an expert.
Oh, God, no. Yeah. And it changes all the time, so much.
It really, yeah. Are we on? Yeah, we're on. It really does, doesn't it? Like even this industry, even if you're out for 6 months, there's all these changes.
Yeah, and new, not only new products, but new standards, the way things are done, new rebates. There seems to be this kind of real merry-go-round in terms of people and where they work, and one person will move and then everyone moves, and
is it? Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
I thought, no one's actually pointed that out to me, but that's very true. One person moves, and then where they move to, they tend to drag a few people with them.
Yes, and go and really do the rounds, whether that's the manufacturer of kind of choice or it's just one person. And because the industry is not massive, in those big roles, it doesn't take a lot. Like literally one person will have to move and then somebody else needs to backfill that position, and then it has this flow-on impact all around the industry. So you get this really diverse mix of skills and experience, and when you start talking to people at events, somebody's worked with that person at this time, and you find out all of these connections because people move around a lot, and it's good for experience to be able to do that. But
because I reckon there's a lot of buts with that, isn't there? Because
it's
like if you're working in an industry and you're or in a business and you're relying on someone and they've been there a year or so and they've sort of learned processes and procedures, one having something they piss off.
Yes.
You're going, hang on a sec, and now the business has to reteach someone who comes in, and that takes a lot. And a lot of businesses don't realise how much time and effort and financial cost that is.
In the investment, or they don't contemplate succession planning. and having
Plan B.
having someone in place. So they're then scampering to find somebody with the right skill set. And in a new industry, like ours is a relatively new industry and changing all the time, to find quality people with really good skills in the area that you need, sometimes really, really challenging. We do that. We always look now for people with industry experience and that solar knowledge and that very specific industry edge that they can bring. And it's not easy to find, particularly when we've got a market at the moment that, apparently to sell batteries at the moment, they're getting paid a fortune and getting incentivised because they just cannot keep up with the sales. They need people to do that. So then to find anybody else and entice them into a different role, it's challenging to do that.
And financially challenging too,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely.
Because they can demand, at this point in time, demand what they like,
Yeah.
for want of a better expression. But it is funny too when you're looking at, when we talked about people not staying in roles or what have you. Someone says, "Oh, look, I want a pay rise and of whatever," and the management goes, "No, bugger off."
Yeah.
And then the person buggers off, and then they get another person in, and they go, and they have to train them up, get them up, and they go, "Hang on a sec. If I'd done my calculations
Exactly.
correctly, maybe it was better to pay that person the pay rise that they requested."
Or to keep them happy in the first place.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
And not have them come to you and say, "Hey, can I have a pay rise?" Or no, you can't. I believe if you've got really great employees, you should be rewarding them along the way and really developing them and wanting to keep them and working out how you can do that and being really in touch with them to find out what it is that they need. For a lot of people, it will be pay increases and linked to salary, but other people might want to learn a new skill or do a course or change roles slightly. And without knowing that and keeping in touch with what your team's doing, you're going to miss out on that and like really valuable talent pool right underneath you. But yeah, as you said, the training costs alone, like, to take yourself out of your everyday function and train somebody is so expensive. And even just, that process when you start a new role and you've got to learn all the logins and the systems, and
That's right.
it's nuts.
It is nuts. I mean, you're talking about nurturing the human capital
Yeah, absolutely.
and understanding quickly what the drivers are for them being there and staying there, whether it's psychological, whether it's financial, what the hierarchy is. And so that comes down to understanding people, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And having some empathy.
Yeah, and not assuming that you know where they're at either. So everyone will have different things going on with their life, inside work, outside work. And being able to keep enough in tune with that to build a team that is going to work really hard and be really passionate about what you're doing is super important. And really different when you've got a team that wants to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a really important point, isn't it? Like, I will say though something about the passion thing, because a lot of people say I'm only going to find a job if I'm passionate about it. I think you're lucky if you got passion. It's to me, it's like whatever you're doing, try to do it bloody well. And hopefully passion will come from that.
I agree. I had a very interesting conversation with actually a colleague recently about this. And I was mentoring her and talking about what she really wanted to do. And kind of, it went on a tangent, but essentially what came out of that was that business, I found working last year, I found myself in this place, and this wasn't, I wasn't working for myself in my own business, but I tend to put in a lot and get very, I enjoy a challenge, but sometimes I can throw myself into things too much. And I found this last year, I got to a point and I was like, whoa, I'm working way too much here. And I am working really long days. I was working on the weekends, and I nearly hit burnout, and I was exhausted. I was really tired. Friends were becoming concerned that I was just working so much because I could. I didn't have a house full of kids anymore. I was sinking myself into, doing this work and working really well and achieving a lot, but geez, it was too much. And what I realised in that moment, and it's been glorious to take back my weekends, by the way. What I realised is when you work really hard and you do a lot, I was creating all of this work for everyone else as well. So
wow, good point.
Yeah, and too much. So you can work indefinitely if you want to, and you can keep on doing more and more and more and creating more work. But is that fair for your team and those around you? No, because that then builds up some unrealistic expectations of everybody else then having to follow suit to keep up with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. And the other point is too that you reach, I'm going to mention point too many times, but you reach a point of marginal diminishing returns.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what studies have shown also that you need that time to reflect, to be bored, not even looking at a phone, to let the mind digest, let the brain get washed, because there's a thing called brainwash, and that'll actually help your job. Are you a great believer, or a believer in like deep focus? Have you know the concept of deep focus?
Yeah, I've dabbled in a lot of that kind of area, and look, for me, I do a little bit differently. I exercise every day, and that for me is my downtime and my release and my thinking time, and allows me to really, it's a different environment, it's a different place, and I can really zone out and just relax, think if I need to, listen to music if I need to. I listen to lots of podcasts when I'm doing that, or nothing. And just having that routine for me has been really good. I'm not somebody who can lie down and meditate very well. It's something I will need to practice and get better at.
All right, I'll tell you what I meant by deep focus.
Okay, tell me.
Yeah, okay. So in this day and age, we've got all these distractions. We have Google Chat. We use it. We used to have Slack. We got rid of it. We got Google Chat. We got emails. We got LinkedIn. We got this and that.
Yeah.
And in some cases, in some businesses, people consider answering emails and looking at social media their bloody job. Now, there's certain people who need to be able to be flexible, agile, jumping around, but other time you have to go deep. Like if I'm writing a training thing for CB2, I don't want to get distracted. I have to go real deep. Because if you're distracted, what happens, because no one can multitask, it's a myth, it's called rapid switching. We can't do it like a computer. So when you're rapid switching, you're spending time going backwards and forwards, and not only that, there's a residual of the last thing you did. So if I'm standing here and Sophie says, "Hey Valley, can you think about this new budget?" What? And then I have to go back to that. It takes me time to get back.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's what I mean by the deep focus.
I was listening to a podcast just on the weekend about this.
Oh, okay.
And they said that Slack's terrible at that.
It's absolutely
because it's designed to be, it's designed for workplaces where you need multiple people working on projects at different times, and we're a global organisation, so it does work well in that regard. But that focus and attention that it takes away from the little bits. I could be on Slack all day and just, rotate around Slack if I wanted to. And I agree with your deep focus. And I found the weirdest place for me to get excellent work done, which allows for that, is on an aeroplane without Wi-Fi.
Yeah, wow.
Because you don't have emails, you don't have Wi-Fi. I mean, obviously you can turn that off if you're sitting at your desk, but all of those interruptions are gone. it is literally, it's all turned off. I mean, hopefully you don't have somebody really chatty next to you, or a baby screaming in your ear. But I've found I can get a lot done in that space because I'm stuck. I'm stuck in a seat. I'm stuck for 2, 3, 6 hours on a plane, and no Wi-Fi.
And you can get into what they call that flow state, where you hear it's not only for it's that flow state's not just for artists and authors and stuff. People who I sat writing the book and 24 hours later, I didn't realise that. It can be the same for whatever you're involved in. And I don't know if you're interested, but there's a book by a guy called Cal Newport. I mentioned to a few other guests when we start talking about this, and he's a professor and amazing. He produces papers, research, the whole bit in a really short amount of time, and he still jogs every day. He has 2 young children. Yeah. He has certain rules about turning stuff off at a certain time. He just regiments his day, and he's a bloody genius too. That helps. Yeah. But it's just going, yes, I'm doing this, and telling people so they don't have expectations.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'd turn off the inbox on the Gmail, which has Google Chat. We used to use Slack, so I don't hear the pings because I haven't worked out how to turn the pings off on the computer. But it really, you get a lot done though.
Totally,
don't you?
And I made the decision after I went through this last year of really working way too much, and I don't know how to undo it now. But I set up my phone with these focus times. So literally, I think it's at 7 p.m. I only get calls from 5 people is allowed through, and
that's a good idea.
Yeah, and when you're in sales, and I've been in sales for a long time at various different places, I still get people from years ago ringing me up and finally deciding to buy whatever they do, and it's really, really. It was really hard to start off with, and now I don't think about it, aside from the fact when someone's actually trying to call me and they're like, Sophie, I tried to call you all last night, but it went straight to voicemail. I was like, it's because you're not on my 5-person list.
Tell them that?
No, I just say, I turn my phone off now at night time. No one's got cranky with me because that's how we all used to work. We all used to leave an office and walk away from a phone that was on the desk and not have email. And now we are expected to be contactable 24/7.
Yes.
And
to the detriment of everyone.
Everyone, absolutely everyone. Yeah. And, my children are all grown up now, but kids see it in their parents. They see them on the phone all the time, at parks with the kids, and that's how the kids are growing up. There's no right or wrong. I'm not saying that we're in a disastrous place, but we have to think about having some balance and really putting it away. And now, at night time, dinner, I love to sit on the couch and watch a movie with my partner. We literally don't take our phones to the couch. And that was hard. We started arguing about, why are you on your phone? I just got to do this work thing. And we have an understanding now, like if it's something urgent, it's like, look, I've got a meeting, this is important, but you don't just get on your phone, because that's what happens. You'll sit there on the couch, supposedly with, your partner and the person that you want to catch up with, who's just been out at work all day, and you're not talking to each other.
You're not in the moment.
Yeah.
That's a hard one, isn't it? From a business owner's perspective, you're in business for various reasons, and one of them, and I won't order them because it depends. You want to make more money than wages. That's one thing. So you want your staff to work well, but at the same time, you want to nurture the human capital, nurture them so they're at their optimum. But they have to be productive. They have to be supported. But it's this continuous balancing act, isn't it? It's so hard. I've only been in business once before, and it wasn't very good many years ago.
It's really hard.
It's really, I can see.
I absolutely take my hat off to all of the business owners. It's really stressful, and I think a lot of people outside of that, environment look at small business owners or business owners and think that it's quite glamorous and they get all this money because their jobs are expensive and there's a lot to juggle. I mean, if you take solar and the battery industry right now, I mean, the amount of paperwork, the number of systems, the amount of administration, all of the requirements involved in just your man-in-a-van solar installation business, that's absolutely massive. And how do they then stay on top of, not only changing aspects of our own industry, but outside regulation and legislation and superannuation's changing, and now you need to pay in this cadence, and now you need to do this, and insurance is due, and this is due, and there is so much to keep on top of. And then they're expected to do all of the social media and the Instagram and the Facebook for the business. How can anyone keep up with that?
Well, something has to be sacrificed if you do. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, again, because it comes down to that billionaire or pauper, we've only got X amount of hours on this earth. And it's cliche. I've been saying this for years, though, but it is. It's just you got to say, well, what's my time worth to me? And what makes me happy and productive, and all those other existential questions that a lot of people don't want to talk about. A lot of people internalise. Me, I don't want to talk about the weather. I always want to talk about stuff like that. Yeah. But it is hard. And my boss Eddie, he's amazing guy. He really is. Crazy good businessman. He's passionate too, and got a very active mind. And it's like, but gee, he's running a business over 35 people. Multi-millions of dollars a year doing these big projects, and I tell you what, stuff can go wrong.
Yep.
It does.
Yep.
And you learn from it, but it has a financial implication, and it's just like, wow, I sort of go, wow, I'm just an employee, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to then stop, because even when you're an employee, if you don't stop at some point and you don't do whatever it is that you want to do, if you're not doing that, then what are you doing?
You mentioned process and procedure. Are you a process procedure driven kind of person?
That is actually a very interesting question, because if
I try to ask the interesting questions.
If you'd asked me that 2-3 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. Just roll with whatever needs to be done, and we'll be fluid and work in the moment, and adapt and be very agile and move. However, I have found that there are times when you really do need to have some sort of systems and processes, and particularly as businesses grow, because that can happen. It tends to happen fairly quickly when a business starts to be successful. So you have this rapid period of growth, and I think what can happen when you're growing so quickly, or just as more people come into a business, some of those processes is just kind of like Chinese whispers, and they can be diluted. And there's lots of kind of examples. If Bill over there is working too hard, and it's identified that Bill's doing too much and needs somebody else to do his job, somebody will be recruited, and Bill's job would probably be split in half. But is it the right way to split that job in half?
Oh, boy.
And so when that happens, and it happens multiple times, sometimes you just get tasks that don't make sense, literally divided up between people, that doesn't make sense, because the easiest way through rapid growth has just been to recruit and then get somebody to train them on the processes that they did and the way that they did them.
Reactive as opposed to proactive.
Yeah, it's like that succession planning we're talking about. You have to have some ability and somebody to coordinate that's really good at systems and processes. And look, we all know now that AI is taking over the world. There are ways to do that. There are ways to bring that in without necessarily being really burdensome. When I had my own business, I went through the process of having to recruit a new office manager. Now, for a solar and battery full electrification business, we weren't huge. We had one install crew and plus maybe a subcontractor that worked for the business, and the office manager did everything. So, in Victoria, that's actually a hell of a lot of paperwork.
Yes.
And a hell of a lot of systems. And I was petrified when I needed to put somebody on, because I knew that I couldn't find anyone in the solar industry that would know, because that's the easiest, right? And I know that, I'm pretty crap at admin, to be honest. And I say that all the time at work. I'm like, my time is not best spent formatting this slide deck, because I'm really, really crap at that.
Yes.
Give it to someone who's faster.
Yes.
I'll give you the content. Like, you make it pretty. I can't make it pretty. I really am not great at that. And anyway, this office, I had to go out and recruit someone who had office management experience and good admin experience, but no solar knowledge. And it was about finding the right tools to be able to do that. And so instead of hours and hours of me sitting there and training her, there's a platform, Scribe. Scribe will literally take screenshots and write instructions when you do a function. So I would sit there. I've heard
about this,
I'd sit there and do like a power core pre-approval and just do it, and it would put it in a manual. I just did it once. There you go. That's how you do it. Being really smart about the tools that you use in your business and knowing what's going to make it easier, because there are some really, really good ones, can make all of the difference. It's not taking away from that one-on-one training, but you've then got a manual in 2 seconds. You've done something once that somebody else can then take their time and work off.
There's an issue though with app bloat, isn't there? Where there's so many millions of, and also to find something like Scribe takes time.
Yep.
So there's that time component that has to be costed into a project or a number of projects, etc. Because everything comes down to how much time you're spending on stuff. So do you think it's easier to get someone who's really good at admin tasks, who's got no idea of solar, to teach them at the solar side, or to get someone who knows all about the solar but is shit at admin?
No, I think somebody with the high admin skills. And that's probably the right answer, because, I came into sales, solar 8 years ago now, and I had no idea about solar. And I remember that feeling of, holy hell, what are they talking about? It is like another language.
Yeah, jargon.
Yeah, and all it was like inverters and batteries and MPPTs. Like, it was nothing insane, but it was not a terminology that I was used to. And if you've got somebody with a really good skill set, they can grasp anything else in any other industry.
I agree.
And that's just about time and being in it. And there are ways that we can make that easier. And I think we need to look at it also from the perspective of enticing people into the industry and not being scared of that. Because if we say, you got to learn so much, there's solar, there's batteries, there's there's all these brands and there's all these regulations and there's all these requirements, it's not very attractive.
I'm just laughing because I imagine I'm coming for a job and I hear I'll go elsewhere. Pays better and I don't have to learn as much.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah, I will just go and do some basic admin where I don't have to think. But hey, we're going to give you this whole new aspect of energy and solar, and you're going to learn a new skill set on top of what you've got, and a whole new set of knowledge. You've got the skills. Now we've just got to give you the context so that you can apply those skills.
Where do I sign?
Yeah.
No, it's a really good point. And leading on from that, we haven't talked much about solar renewables, but this is great because I think it's really important. Is what about where people are in jobs and someone's identified that they're not that good at job? I'll give you an example: project management.
Yeah.
There's a certain kind of person who's good at project management, But you'll find a lot of companies that, that person's going to be the project manager. We'll train them, we'll send them on weekend, let's become project managers. But the fact of the matter is that their character, they're not bad people. They're just shit project managers.
Yeah.
And you see this, to me,
all the time.
All the bloody time.
Yeah, it's like you see people that are good at their job. They might be a really great, electrician, really great installing solar, and suddenly they're given a team.
Yes.
And same thing. Yep. Really not great at working with people, but we have this really awful association with somebody being good at their job and then accelerating them to a different role.
Yes.
Why does everyone do that? Because if you're really good at your job, hey, do you really love your job? If you really love your job right now, let's give you more of it.
That's right.
And make you better. And I think it's about being able to call when you've made a mistake in a role. And that instance shouldn't go on too long. If it does, there's an issue with communication far before that. But if you're not touching base with somebody to ask them, is this something that you want, how are you feeling, and getting feedback from those that are around them and checking in with everyone to make sure that that is a right call, you're investing too much in something that's not going to work. And it doesn't mean that you can't change it. It might just be a little bit of an awkward conversation when you say, hey, you know what, do you think that this is the best plan for you? Have we done the right thing for you and for us here? They might turn around and say, God, no, give me back my old job.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
But that manager needs to be a good manager to identify what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
And a good manager has to actually like people. And I know I'm not being sarcastic, but you do have to like people, and you have to have a certain amount of empathy balanced with the economic reality of being in a business and all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
And those people are bloody rare.
They are rare.
In my opinion, my experience. So if you've got an issue with the manager who can't identify this person who, I'm just going to hit him on the head with a stick until they become the next a good project supervisor or a leading hand on a commercial solar site or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, God, he was a great sparky, but he's getting old. He's 40. Maybe he wants to get off the roof. We'll get him in the office and make him do. He's going, oh, mate. And he just goes, I hate this shit. I just want to be.
Yeah. All the apprentices hate him because.
I shouldn't laugh, but I'm just happens. Hearing. Yeah, that's what happens.
It's what happens, and we have this really, really crazy, stupid way of doing that, and thinking that progression means people management or project management. And there are a lot of people that don't want to do it, and that's okay. There are a lot of people, going back to what we were saying earlier, there's a lot of people that don't want to, spend all of it's not all about their job. They want to come and do their job. They want to come and be a sparky for the day, and they're really happy to do that, and that's what they want to do, and then they want to go home. And I think that for a whole lot of reasons, we've tried to make workplaces fill a gap. And look, I'm not into church or anything like that, but once upon a time we had this very big church community or community groups and different groups that people would be part of. You had your old Rotary, your Lions Club, all of those different groups that there's still some around now.
Bugger all though.
We're trying to make that work. We're trying to make the workplace fill this void for all of these other gaps outside of work. And it puts a lot of pressure on people to make work something that it might not necessarily have to be.
Very insightful. Yeah, look, I'm just digesting what you said, because it's a really good point, because it leads on to that whole, this is totally non-renewable energy, but the whole thing about community and the breaking down of community, and which gets back to human beings, Let's face it, apart from a very small percentage of horrible people, most people in no particular, they want to be loved, they want to be productive, and they want to be part of something.
Absolutely.
And this is why You know, you see issues, I suppose, with, and this is not me, this is just statistics, you know, kids joining gangs because they feel that they're not belonging to their family or whatever, but they can identify, I'm them. And people have to understand that. And no matter even we know it or not, our DNA, we're going to react to that. We are. Wow.
Yeah, and it is a really interesting phenomenon. And what's more, not only workplaces have we done it, you know, because we don't have these groups outside of workplaces, but workplaces themselves have changed. I work for OpenSolar is completely global. It's great. We work remotely. So, you know, we've got
all of you.
All of us. We do have a Sydney office. So the Sydney office, they go in there a couple of times a week, and that's a lot of our dev team are based in Sydney. So that's good for collaboration. I go to the Sydney office every now and then. But I work remotely, and, you know, I've got a lovely computer set up at home, and, you know, I used to go and do site visits and talk to customers all day. And yes, my days now are like sometimes just back-to-back Google Meets. So lots of meetings. I meet with lots of partners, manufacturers, fincos, you know, everyone in the industry, which is great. But I'm
putting my hand up because I don't know what's a finco.
No,
that's all right. I want to learn these acronyms.
Like a lender, like your Brights, your Plenties, your Handy Pays.
Right.
Like, you know, who offer finance for end customers on their solar.
Fincos. Yeah. Wow, thank you. I just never heard it. So you're by yourself?
I'm by myself at my desk. And this is the danger, right? This is how I got to working more and more and more and more, because it's pretty easy when you're just at home, and I might pop in and just do that and just do that. But what I've realised that I need, and don't get me wrong, working from home is great, right? It's really allows me to get my job done, and when I am conscious now about switching that off, it makes a huge difference. But getting out to industry events and talking to people and connecting is so different. And it's so different to having a Google Meet. And I had this conversation recently with a couple of people in the industry. Barry from Bridge Select was one of them. We meet quite a bit online and have a great meeting. But now we've started every now and then to meet up in person.
Wow.
And those meetings are completely different, because it's a very different, it's very different when you're sitting with somebody and you're having lunch and you're having a chat or you're having a coffee. You talk about different things, and it's the side conversation that's outside of a agenda that's on a Google Meet. And for me, I've realised that I need to be able to get to those industry events. I need to be able to say, you know what, you're based in Melbourne, or I'm in Sydney next week. Why don't I stay another day and I'll come out and meet with you in office? And the level of conversation and the outcomes are really vastly different. And I know in Victoria, again, you know, we've moved to this, you know, they're legislating about the number of days you can work from home, which is great in some context. But we need to also understand that people still need to connect, and that value of being able to build relationships and have better, deeper conversations comes from allowing people, if that is part of their role and something that they need to be able to do.
Physical proximity is really important.
Really important, yeah. And I mean, we had Solar and Storage Live, was in Brisbane last week.
How did it go?
It was interesting. There were lots that I felt that there weren't very many installers at all. There were lots of industry people there, manufacturers, all of the partners, everyone that I need to talk to. It was a great, I only went there for a day, but it was great for me. I had some really great meetings, but we have far too many industry events now. I'm not sure how many you get to.
Going to the one in Sydney,
yeah,
but I'm chairing. For the first time, they've asked me to chair something.
Oh,
I know.
Oh, you must be very important now.
Well, it was a bit of a shock because I'm going, I'm sure this is some generic email. Then I looked at the wording and went, oh, maybe not. And we've said yes. And
yeah, good.
I said, while we're up there, we might as well throw in, because we've done some free training, like at the Sydney and the Queensland ones previously. There's some CPD point free one for an hour where I can crap on. But I think, like, back to what you said, this physical proximity. Like, if we had this podcast and you're remote, we wouldn't have that simpatico.
No.
It's not the same.
No.
And then, depending on what kind of work you're doing, it's like ideas.
Absolutely.
Oh, Sophie, I've got this idea for this new. What if the guys do this battery instead of doing that? Why don't we look at doing this on some of those sites where blah blah blah?
Yeah.
Can't do that on the bloody
Absolutely
Google
not.
Meet.
Or it's a side conversation with somebody that says, "Oh, hey, and you're like, oh, do you know them?
Yeah.
Can you introduce me?" All of that is really, really important. And we're moving into this space when we've got, AI is coming thick and fast. Whoa, it's really coming in every aspect of everyone's life, work, everything. And the ability to maintain connections in a workplace where we're talking about people lacking this connection as well, really taking a moment to be conscious of maintaining and developing relationships, particularly as you've got younger staff coming in. I mean, my kids, they're all young adults now, and most of this generation, they don't want to phone someone. Like, if they have to talk to someone on the phone,
They freak
God, they don't answer me when they call. They'll just text back, with what up? I'm like, yeah, it's your mother calling.
Yeah, I've got a 21-year-old and a 14-year-old who's still at home.
Ouch.
She's
Yeah.
And we started late in life, things happen and all stuff, and because I'm old, and so yeah, I know. He and he just lives 2 kilometres away, and he's just, when he bothers to text,
Yeah.
it's like, and there seems to be this fear to interact, like, verbally. It's weird.
It is really weird.
Aren't these first and foremost for bloody conversations?
Well, it's interesting. I had this conversation with some friends, like with our children's generation. They won't even ring to book a doctor's appointment, or
Really?
because it's speaking. They want to do everything via text or online. They don't want to talk to people. And if is a real danger in a world that with increasing AI and automation and work from home and lack of community, that we're almost saying, right, now you're ready to come into the workplace. You don't have to either. And all of this will be automated and you don't need to do X, Y, and Z. They're skills for life, like being able to have a conversation with people. If you learn that through work or you learn that through your personal life, everything will play out in that other, in the other environment at some time. The ability for me to be able to walk into a room and have a meeting. If I go to a wedding or a bar on the weekend, those are all skills that I will use outside of that. And so we almost have a responsibility to be able to bring that in as well. But the human connection, I think we're at danger of losing it.
Totally.
And in the workplace, we should just really make sure that we don't.
Because you're talking about when you're talking about the skills learned, in the workplace and transferred to personal, you're talking about. I'll get philosophical. The interrelationship between all things, the connection. We don't silo things. Never siloed. We think they can be, but there's always some kind of tendril that connects one thing to another.
Absolutely.
And on that note, there's a bit of research that's been done about writing. How if you write something down as opposed to typing, you're creating more neural pathways in your mind. You'll remember more, and it goes one step further than that. I just learnt. And I can't do this because I was asked not to do running writing. I was asked to print in grade 5. But if you do running writing and join, it actually works better on your mind than printing. But writing anything is better than, because of that process of putting symbols into. We get philosophical again. I love it. But yeah, it's really important, and I think we are losing those skills. Combine that with AI, which, by the way, is dumbifying everyone.
Or is it?
I think it is.
I think it's about how you use it. And this was flipped in something I was listening to the other day when they were talking about a workplace, and somebody asked the question and said, "Did you do that with AI?" And the guy said, "No. And then they said, "Well, why didn't you?" Oh. And so being able to, and what you were saying before about sometimes it's really hard to get started on something if you're switching. If you utilise AI as a base to start doing something, so if I say, write an email to this manufacturer based on what I normally say in this instance, and I get AI to do it, it starts me off, right? I know I've just had a meeting with them, and I know that, this one's a bit different because this happened in the conversation, and I know they're wanting to grow and do this, and I know that this has just happened with their product. So I've got a base. I can now weave that in, but I've got started because that starting point has just saved me half an hour. So we need to also be careful that we're not saying, I'm not going to do that, because there are different ways that we can use it without just doing that. And you can tell if someone's just sent you something very generic. And I'm
M-dash.
The long M-dash is
dead giveaway. Absolute
dead giveaway. And that's when it's sloppy and it's bad and no thank you very much. It's like knowing the tools and how to use them. So working with that, yes, it can be a really great base. It also can get things really wrong. ChatGPT is shithouse at maths. Do never, ever, ever ask ChatGPT until it gets better. And it's really interesting, the mistakes that it can make. I've read through some of the stuff and I've gone, that is absolutely, you tell it, it's absolutely not right. That is, 4 plus 4 is actually 8. It's not 12. Oh, you are right, Sophie. I'm like...
Bugger right.
Yes. Thank God I read what you wrote. Because
well, here's the thing, isn't it? Because there was a case recently of a solicitor or a lawyer, I don't know what, with a King's Counsel, whatever but they were in court and they were writing something and they got thrown out of court because the clauses and stuff it was AI had generated didn't exist. And I can attest because I do a lot of stuff with Australian standards, looking through and. AS 3008, the most misunderstood standard of them all. Thank God for JCalc. Anyway, and I've gone and they start making 3.2.4, and I go, there's no that clause doesn't exist, and it's some bloody hallucination.
Yes,
well, I use AI a lot.
Yeah, good.
To generate lists.
Yeah, absolutely, and why wouldn't you? Right? Why wouldn't you take the stuff that's going to take a long time?
Exactly.
Because you're working then smarter, not harder. And if it means that you don't then have to work 2 hours longer than you're meant to, then great. But there are stupid people everywhere, and stupid people will use AI and look even stupider because they won't realise it's wrong and they'll think that it's just a way out. And it's not. Use it as a tool. And that AI is learning. It's learning all the time, but... it's not getting everything right. It's a good tool. It's an interesting tool, and sometimes it can help. But you've also got to be able to overlay on top of that. So, the part that worries me most, one of the things that worries me, is that because of AI and being able to do things like lists and stuff, the expectations that we have of what can be done in a normal day will just increase, and it shouldn't, right? If we're all working too hard, we should just say, this is what you need to get done in a week. When you're done and you've done that, that's your job, great. When you've done it to standard, when you've done, that's all, not that, right, you can do more now. Now you can do that and all of those other tasks because you can use AI to do that. That's a danger. Like, we should be using them to do things better and not waste time in the stuff that we don't need to.
You're dead right, and the danger also doing down that path is people start using what they call agentic AI.
Oh, yeah.
AI agents.
Yep. They're actually really good. I've just done a course in all of that.
Right.
Oh, they're fascinating. And yes, there's stuff that we can do. You don't... Oh, well, we're going to have a fight now.
No. Not on camera, at least. No, this is interesting. Look, per se, it's not AI. It's not evil. It's not... It's just... It's being used to drive profit. But I do remind people it's not productive. It produces nothing.
Yes.
It doesn't. It's not like someone going out and installing a system or making these glasses. It produces absolutely nothing. It is information that has been recycled. It doesn't make any new information. It's just gathered all our stuff up for free, by the way. No one's paid me for using my data.
No.
I think this is a conversation for another podcast, yeah. But it's because it is full on. And the reality is, if you're not using AI in some form at this point in time, you'll be out of the race if you're not already out of the race on certain things.
Yeah. And as I said, it's a really great basis. And, we're using AI in lots of aspects of work and on the platform as well. So you can use AI now to do a solar design. Now, are you going to rely on that and send that straight to a customer? No. But it's going to get you started. It's like getting that email done. You get you started, and then you can check. You can go over, hey, that's actually just saved me time, and yes, that's what I do, and no, I'm going to change this. So that there are ways that you can use it to do that, but it's all about making sure that what you're doing is looked at still, and there's a difference between AI and automations. So I'll give you an example. Some of our back-end processes in my team involve things like asking for name, address, email to then put into a contract.
Yes.
When I have automation set up, and I've just done this course to do all this, and it's a massive time saver of just that duplication of someone taking that from an email reply and putting that into that spot. If I can automate that, I'm not going to automatically send out, let's say it's an agreement or a really important document. You're not going to send that out without someone putting eyes on it. But if it's literally transfer of data from one to the other, eyes are over it, gone. You're saving human error, so you're saving that duplication, and you are saving time that someone's not doing something mind-numbing. Now, my team are great, and they don't want to be doing that. They want to be having really fun, exciting conversations and generating plans to make that person's business better or a new campaign. And that's really, really important for them to be able to do that. So just different ways that we can use those automation processes, being smarter, knowing what we're doing and working with it.
But we will get off AI eventually, but there's like automation, it doesn't necessarily mean AI.
Exactly, and people get that confused.
They get that confused. Like, for instance, if you talk Excel, right?
Yeah.
I do a lot. I use it in such a way that I use it in a way that it shouldn't be used the way it does, because it's a great tool for graphic design and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, you can do some pretty interesting. I can do an SLD.
Yeah.
In Excel.
Yeah,
right?
awesome.
Yeah, so it's because it's got some hidden features, but there's also things like macros where you can go, this task, instead of going, I'll print out a PDF or create a PDF for this and send it off, you can do an automation on it, but it's a code thing. And yes, you could get AI to write the code, but it's different from AI. Where
it is, absolutely.
Yeah, but look, it's definitely a tool, but at the end of the day, so is a hammer. So is a pair of pliers, and they have to be used appropriately.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on.
Again, I'll bring up my children because, they're the three best things in the world. But my children, my youngest son he's just started his plumbing apprenticeship. He's been working with a plumber for a little bit now. And these my children in particular are not overly into AI. They think that I talk about it too much, and I'm a bit too into it. But I got in the car the other day, and young Chuka's driving along, and he said, Mum, we were on site the other day, and we actually used AI to find out if it knew how far we could install this exhaust fan, I think it was, and if it would tell us, as per the standard, how far away to do it. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, it got it right. And I said, that's interesting. I said, sometimes it gets it wrong. I said, sometimes you actually need to say, could you please look up the Australian plumbing standard or the whatever solar standard you want to reference, and you have to be very, very specific, like it's got to be AAS, whatever, because it will go on a tangent. And he said, but it told us the answer. I said, yeah, interesting. And he said, and then Dave, the boss, he said, and then Dave tried to test it, and he said, so can you prepare a quote for Bill Smith at 1 Smith Street for an installation of this? Bang. It was a basic template that had in it what he needed and pulled his logo. Like, it's being smart. It's being smart about what we do. And he said, yeah, but our mum, us plumbers, and I said, get this all the time with plumbers, Sparky. So I'll be a plumber and we won't lose our jobs. We'll be okay. Until you can just look up a video of how to do the installation. I don't know.
I'm silent because this is a scary area, and at the end of the day,
I don't want to scare you.
No, I'm scared anyway. But it's a case of that AI is not there for the betterment of human beings. Its primary aim is to increase profit and economic growth.
For who?
For whoever's using it. And I mean, case in point is Amazon probably 6 months ago got rid of 50,000 people like that.
Yep.
And we're seeing like this stuff happening all
Scary.
over. It is scary, and there's no guidelines in place. Remember, they went dead against putting any sort of restrictions, and
exactly.
it's and you think, hang on, what? Because just because technology is there doesn't. All technology is not good technology, and I'm not saying. Look, your podcast brief.
Yep.
That I sent to you.
Well done.
It took a long time for me to get the right format, but I've done 25 of them, and I sent it out. I make sure I get rid of all the M dashes. I put my own little stuff in, but I don't know you. I couldn't put too much. So it all came from LinkedIn.
Yeah, but how long would that have taken you to do 5 years ago? You would have sat there all weekend.
Probably 5 years because I'm the worst typer ever.
Yeah.
So
I would be surprised if it wasn't, but it's just about being smart about what we do, making sure that we're still building those relationships. We're not like just going all in. Relationships are really, really, really important. And that's part of our roles that we need to make sure that we maintain and keep focus on. The biggest area in the world that employs people and the biggest industry, you know what that is?
No.
Vehicle driving. And all of these, like, what happens when we have that completely automated? That's scary.
Silence on
sorry,
podcast.
Sorry,
no.
Anyway.
It is. And at the end of the day, time. I said time is our most valuable resource. Your family is more important than mine, as it should be. Mine's more important than yours.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm a complete and utter bastard about everyone else.
Exactly.
But I'm honest to say that my children and my wife, probably depends on the order, are the most important things, and I have to do what's right by them, and I'll do whatever. Our business is the same.
Know your people.
Yeah, exactly. Know your people. Let's start talking about OpenAI.
Yeah.
Because
sorry, we went down.
No, there's no apologies. No, this is great. I want to know all about OpenAI, and because it's been around for
OpenSolar. So you got AI on the brain. You got AI on the. That's okay.
So, can we cut that bit out? Or maybe not.
No, that's funny.
Yes. So he goes, well, I actually started OpenAI. It wasn't that Sam guy.
My bank account is looking healthy.
I'll start again. So we've talked enough about AI. Let's talk about OpenSolar. My God, that was a real stuff up. OpenSolar, please tell me about OpenSolar.
Yeah. Well, I started using OpenSolar when I
Stop.
Okay.
Let's so we haven't even talked about you. We're not going to. We'll maybe start at the beginning later on, but let's talk about your accreditations. You do back. You got accreditation in battery and solar. Just tell us about that journey and where you came from, like starting from after. When you're an adult.
Okay, I'll do a quick fast forward, 30 second. Went to uni in Tasmania, did commerce, did some travelling around, came back to Australia, did some work, had children, qualified accountant, so I did my CPA, had kids, did some weird things with Thermomix, and enjoyed sales.
Hang on.
I know that's
weird things with Thermomix.
Yeah, I fell into the world of Thermomix. That's a whole story, but we won't.
All right, we won't go.
The training was amazing, and what it made me realise was that I really enjoyed talking to people, and sales isn't. Sales can be about solving a problem and that someone else has got, and should be, right? If it's anything else, that's when it is. And so then, raised my kids, saw this really bizarre ad for a solar salesperson. I'd put solar on our house when we had not the premium feed-in tariff, but the next one down. And I've always been into let's do the right thing by the world. And this bizarre ad, and this even weirder interview with Brad Ott of Velocity Solar in Geelong. I don't know if you know Brad, largely the resi space. He's been around for a long time. Anyway, Brad's a unique character, and he...
there must be subtext there. No, Brad's great. He's great.
He's a great guy. He was really great training a very naive Sophie who had no idea about what was involved in solar sales. I thought, you put some panels in an inverter thing, don't you? And that's it. Like, you just pick the best one and put it on. He was very good at giving me like a layman's guide to the electrical requirements of solar installations. And anyway, he also, Brad is, and I don't think he'll be mad at me for saying that Brad's a tight ass. And so we had this, talking about tools and things that you use in your business, the way that we had to quote solar at the time was this: I know you love Excel and you've just professed your love for Excel and its ability to do all things, but it was a really clunky Excel spreadsheet that we then had to bring in an image. We had to, like, the formulas behind the spreadsheet were a bit dodge. You get these errors, like it was not great. And it would take me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to put together a solar proposal.
Right. This is a residential
just a resi.
Wow.
Like, it was, and I said, Brad, there's got to be something else. This is nuts. Right. Anyway, long story short, I came across OpenSolar and another platform. Can't even remember what the other one was. And I said, Brad, this one's free. He said, great, do it. Great, you can do it. Because he's a tight ass, right? Anyway, I still, bless his cotton socks, I still really like Brad and we get along well. But that's how I got onto OpenSolar. I used it, and then I did what we were talking about is really bad about our industry earlier on in terms of moving around different employers. And I went from Velocity Solar, I went to RACV when they started up their Geelong.
Right.
They had another Excel spreadsheet that Jack Long had put together.
Right.
Jack, it was great, but it was clunky. And same thing, put them onto OpenSolar because I'd used it. Went on to work for Vortex, Simon Hansen, and then have my own business as Geelong Electric Vehicle Chargers and Electrify Victoria. And of course, I put OpenSolar into all those other places after discovering it, into my own business. Didn't pay OpenSolar a cent in any of those times, like literally didn't. And then the long story part of that is when my business partner left the business, and it was very unexpected, and I was devastated, absolutely devastated. And I knew I either had to double down even more at a time when the industry was low, and that would have gone from working, 60 plus hours a week to more.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, it was really hard to find an A grade that wanted to take on a team. It was near impossible. I'm talking would have been September 2023, 24. I can't remember the year. Anyway, must have been 24. And had a conversation with the OpenSolar team I'd worked with for years, because I was using their product, and they would always ask me to, test the new betas and get my feedback on stuff. And had a conversation with OpenSolar, and they said, would you come and work here? And I was like, holy hell, I'm an OpenSolar fangirl.
Wow.
Tough because building my own business was something that was really important to me. So it was a hard decision to make, but the right decision to make. And
But you're GM.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that insane?
Is that?
Yep, General Manager for Australia and New Zealand.
But is that the first? That's what they offered you?
No. This is a funny story. So I started in a different position, which is like the head of ProX, and I think it was day one. I had a meeting with Birchie, one of the co-founders, and he said, "Actually, Soph, I know it's your first day on the job." I thought, Christ, he's going to fire me. Jesus Christ, I've stuffed up and it's only day one. He said, "Actually, how about you become GM?" And I went... Micah was doing some travel. Micah still works for OpenSolar, but she was doing some travel. So it was like this beautiful moment. And my job is amazing. And clearly I've come from somebody who has actually used the product. I understand it. I'm an accredited solar and battery designer, so I get it. Like I understand what is needed and how then we can work and do great things, making it easier for people to use and something that takes out all the burden. When I talk about admin in roles, like being able to tell the man in a van who is like installing 1 million batteries right now that we're going to reduce the admin and make it easier so he can do more, or he doesn't have to go home and work for hours doing all of the other stuff, because we're making it easier. And making it easier is really important. So this is where this all comes in. It is all about making it easier. It's not, and giving them the tools that make them trust that it's going to do what it needs to do. And also choice. That's really, really important. So it's not saying you have to do X, Y, and Z. People use OpenSolar in lots of different ways. We have big retailers that use it one way, and your small installer that will use it a different way. And the beauty is that you can do that. If you have a big CRM because you're a massive business, you can connect to that and that's okay. But if you are a man in the van, you're not going to spend $5,000 a month on a big CRM because you don't need it. The OpenSolar CRM and project management is going to allow you to do what you need to do.
So this is still free to people?
Yep. It's free. If you want premium imagery, if you want other add-ons, you can do that. But like me, I didn't ever pay OpenSolar a cent.
Which begs the question, how do we make money? Okay, that's an easy question to answer. That's what my job is. So OpenSolar monetizes by working with, not from the installer, let's just call them installers, not from taking money from an installer in subscriptions. It's working with manufacturers and partners. So if you are a manufacturer of a battery and you want your battery to look really nice in OpenSolar proposals that go out to end customers, so you're a solar installer and you're sending proposals to your customers, you want them to see when they open that proposal all of the information that you're probably going to forget. You're really good at installing solar, but you're going to forget the latest features. And of course you are.
This gives the manufacturer that voice directly to the person opening the proposal and say, hey, you know what? You want this battery because it's got the longest warranty for Australia and it is going to look like this on your wall. The installer knows all of the specs and the data points and how they commission that and all of the electrical requirements of that. They're not necessarily great at selling the features that the customer wants. They want that panel because it looks really great and sexy on that black monument ColourBond roof. You're not going to see it. Right? The manufacturer pays us to make that look nice to the end proposal, but it gives them that unique voice right to the end. So that direct B2C voice, that's pretty rare, right?
It is.
When a manufacturer can talk to the customer, and that's how they can put their videos in, they can have that ability to be right there in front of them and say, you want this
Hang on,
panel.
the videos, they can put videos
They can put videos in. So when you
I get a proposal from, say, an installer, and it's a PDF, I can open up, there's a video.
Yep. So
Wow.
emailed out. If it's a PDF, you can go to the links.
Yep.
But it's emailed out, so you can click on it. So it will appeal to everyone for different reasons. So those, like, I'm a real visual person. I might want to see a video and this is how it's going to work and this is what's going to happen. Or if you've got somebody that loves facts and figures, we will get in customers that want to click on a spec sheet, and they can.
They're a small percentage, though, aren't they?
Or if you Bob and Sue, 50 that live next door, they want to see what it looks like on their roof, and they want to know it's got a really long warranty. That's important to them. Or they want to know that
the company's credible.
Yeah, it's Australian made, or whatever that point of difference is for the product, they get to put that voice out. And then, so that's your B2C channel. And the other thing that they can do, because installers use a platform to do the design, so they're using OpenSolar quite a bit during their day-to-day. So their banner ad campaigns. So a manufacturer can say, right, well, I've got a new product coming out, and I want all installers to know that I've got a new product coming out. So they can pay to have an ad on the OpenSolar platform, because the people that are using OpenSolar are their target market. And they're the ones that are designing the system.
It's so transparent, isn't it? Everyone understands.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I don't know if it is so transparent.
As in, people understand that.
It should be.
Yeah, because you've got this market of installers.
Yep.
They want to know what's coming out. They want to know what panels are available, what new models, what inverters, what best.
Yep.
I always say best systems. What bests
are on the market or coming. And they get to do that, and that's a target audience for manufacturers. So they'll pay for those ad campaigns. And yes, they'll get that information when they go to Smart Energy or All Energy, and they'll get to see it in the flesh and have those conversations. But if you want to do that, you can. And if you say, okay, well, I'm doing hot water. We have hot water in the platform now. We're doing electrification of everything. So if you're bringing hot water to market and there's a rebate that's only available in Victoria and New South Wales, right? You can say, okay, so I'm going to pay for this to be placed on OpenSolar. I'm a hot water. I manufacture this heat pump, but I only do it in New South Wales and Victoria, because the other states it doesn't matter.
Right.
And they can.
Wow. So,
you can really say, I've got a marketing budget. I want to make it worthwhile. How can I do that? And you can. So that's a platform. And if you need other features in your installer, and you need like a near map image or a high quality image for a project, you've got options there that you can pay for that, right? So you can pay to do those things, and we're making it easier and easier all the time for installers to work in a volume-based way when they need things like that. So really bringing that down, so there's not big overheads. They don't need long subscriptions. They don't need monthly fees on something else, because there's a shit ton of stuff they've got to pay for. Make it easy, make it simple. They can make really nice looking proposals that look professional, that come from Sophie Solar, and the customer, that's all the customer knows. They don't know who OpenSolar is.
Yeah.
But the installers can trust in that. And we do things like the cheap home batteries rate rebate, for example. When that changes, we've adjusted our calculation. So the installers can use our calculation tool to apply that rebate. So we have this really, really great team of developers who have the ability to write all that code and make a platform that's really useful when things change or things come in. And so it saves installers time. And I know we've just had this whole conversation about AI and different tools, but it's about being smart about the tools. This is smart. It's smart. Like, don't get bogged down in the rubbish. Use stuff that's going to help you.
I know a little bit about OpenSolar because I did a little bit of research, but I should have done a lot more because I didn't realise how comprehensive it is in regards to, basically taking all the rubbish work out of what installers need to do. Because that's the thing, isn't it? Well, a lot of your base is smaller installers doing multiple resi jobs, and you mentioned about commercial, we'll talk about that, but a lot of them, they haven't got the time to, look, let's change the shade colour on that picture in the proposal. It's hard enough putting a proposal together in the first place.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, and that's always changing in terms of what they need to put out, and all of those kind of administrative functions are really hard. And as I said before, it's about making it easier for them, making it simpler so that they don't need to get bogged down into that. And all of those integrations that we develop with our partners, they help to be able to do that. A really good one that we've got coming, and I can't say too much, but we've got with excitement some more coming with the ability to streamline how you order everything for a project. Or if you're a larger installer, you might want to order everything for a month, right? Now,
like a bomb list, you talk?
A bomb list, and then direct through to per project, where do you want it delivered, where from.
Wow.
Now, I know the pain of this, right? Ordering your stock can be really, really hard. And I had an example where I ordered, and I was actually talking to them at Solar and Storage Live. This was a couple of years ago. I had a job with a Fronius inverter, single phase, happy days. And it's like, inverter panels. We had ordered the office manager, who was this new office manager that I mentioned earlier. She ordered the stock, and our cash flow was pretty tight.
I was going to say, cash flow's the key, isn't it?
Bloody tight, because all of a sudden it's, if you're paying your staff, whatever, payday comes up, and then you've got to make super payments, and so all that balancing of payments is, it's like you really have to manage it. Anyway, so we would order our stock to arrive just in time for a job, and she put through this order to supply partners. I'll have a Fronius inverter, whatever it was, an 8 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt. Day before the install, the delivery comes, and my business was one of these really weird. Everyone said, you can't do that, Sophie. We didn't have a warehouse because warehouses are expensive, right? We would get the stock delivered just before the install, so the day before, put it on the truck, or the guys would go to Green Tech and pick it up on the way. And lots of these man in a van businesses are running like that now, realising that warehouses are, they're really expensive, and then you're going to have a warehouse manager, and then you're going to have a forklift, and then you got to do blah, 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 and stock prices, like your panels and your inverters will fall off the CEC list.
Yes.
Or the price will change. Anyway, that's a different story. But she'd ordered this inverter to come to install the next day, and she ordered a Simo. I'm like, you fucking idiot. But no, how would she know, right? Because she doesn't do the solar design. She didn't design the solar system that was sold. That was me. But because she just sees Fronius, that's what she'd ordered. Now, imagine if that kind of error doesn't happen, because that's the job. It's sold. I'm going to put an installation date of the 4th of April. And I'm going to say, I need that stock to be here by the 3rd of April. And it's going to order exactly what the designer, me, has put in that proposal. So,
wow.
Done. Error, done. Time saving, right? Is anyone going to be unhappy that they don't have to maybe mess it up and make a mistake?
No, of course.
You order like an Simo, I'm talking about cash flow. Bloody hell, that's not a cheap kind of mistake to make. So instead of making an error and then being on the phone, hey, supply partners, how the hell do I get this inverter back to you? I'm never going to need this. That doesn't happen.
Wow.
So all of those things is about making life easier, building integrations that make life easier, And genuinely, I get it. I know what those pain points are, and just to be able to put those things in place and talk about these really cool ideas that can make it easier for everyone, that's magnificent. Distributors at the moment, they've been selling like there's no tomorrow. They want easier, simpler ways to do things. Connecting them into that point. Do you know what they want to do? And a lot of the big distributors do this for installers. They will review a design. So they will double check that design will work based on whatever's been sold to the customer. Imagine if they can, instead of having to do up that design themselves and check it, if they can have an oversight into what's already been sold. Like all of these really cool ways that we can work.
So they're on board straight away, aren't they?
Yeah, I need to be careful because I'm saying too much. We've got stuff happening in this space.
I understand. Yeah, no.
It's all coming. It's all coming. Watch this space. But we're making it easier for them to do all of this stuff. And it's going to be even better for everyone to be able to work in a way that reduces those errors. It makes them have the extra time to be able to still develop those relationships and talk about what's important, not that somebody stuffed up an order because they had to manually enter something in for the 100th time that day. So that's smart, and that allows them to do that. So it's really important to do that. And I'm really passionate about that and being able to have that choice and not locking people into something, being able to use something the way that they want to. And that it allows that to happen. So it's pretty cool.
With the proposals, does it incorporate things like EV charging?
Yep, all of that.
And let's face it, heat pumps. So
Yes.
we're talking about this total energy. You can use this acronym if you like. Total Energy Management Strategy, a TEMS approach. I've been trying for the last 2 years to get out there. It's not successful. But it is a total energy management strategy or solution, isn't it?
We use EOE, so electrification of everything. But I quite like
No. That sounds much better than TEMS. TEMS sounds like those machines or,
TENS.
TENS machines.
When you have babies. I never used one.
Zappy,
just give me the drugs. But yes, those zappy machines.
Yeah,
TEMS.
Yeah, TEMS. No, ELOs.
EOE. Anyway, yes.
I remember. What a great memory I've got. No, it sounds a heck of a lot better than TEMS.
Yes.
Wow, that's really good. Because that's what's happening now, isn't it?
Well, that was my business. Electrify Victoria was my business before OpenSolar, and it's all about that electrification and yet helping customers understand, and homeowners. It's bloody confusing, making it really easy for them to understand in a really easy way, and to get the information that they want out of that. So when we talk about manufacturers and being able to click on different things, they can explore that themselves, not relying on an installer to keep up to date with those points or the colourful brochures. Thank God we can have all of that on a platform that makes sense. So there's no colour brochure being handed over at a site visit. It's like, I'm going to send you everything that you need, because most of those end up in the rubbish bin.
They do, that's right, and that's not sustainable, and it's a waste. Now, obviously, we're recording this around a time when part of the world is at war. Yeah. There's going to be ramifications even if they stop tomorrow in regards to oil and how that flows on to food. And obviously there's going to be a huge uptake of EVs after this. Well, that's my thinking and others. So a lot of these proposals now will be including,
EV chargers, absolutely.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, most inverter and battery manufacturers are making their own version of EV chargers, and there are some that have been on the market for a long time, and some that have lots of smarts. But the EV uptake in Australia has been relatively slow.
It has.
I went to Shanghai last weekend. It sounds nuts.
Wow.
Yep, for the weekend in the crazy life of Sophie. But in Shanghai, what an experience when they have such a massive EV uptake, their how they do their car permitting system is quite extraordinary. But I was standing talking on the phone next to one of the major highways, and normally if you're thinking you're in Shanghai, there's like a billion cars driving past. It was quiet.
Right.
It was quiet, and
the air was clean?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
It was really lovely. And it was really bizarre, and I had to stop after that and go, oh my God. If you're even in Melbourne and you're standing on Queen Street, well, wherever you are, like you can't, like that's noisy, and it's really hard to have a conversation. It was really, really amazing, and we're going to see that in Australia. We're going to see a shift in the New Zealand market, I think, in the solar and renewable space really soon. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. But Australia's got this opportunity. Yes, there's all this craziness with fuel prices, and EVs is going to be the real kind of mover and shaker. And then what do you reckon about vehicle to grid, vehicle to load in a resi scenario? I would love to hear what you think will happen in that space, because it's about to hit, right?
I think there's a few proposals out there, but I don't think anyone's fully got it right.
Oh no, they do.
You reckon?
Oh, I know they do. It's about to come. It is a bit exciting.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's complicated enough for some man in the van to either do it themselves or find someone who is capable, technical-wise, to actually understand and present the intricacies of battery storage and the grid in a palatable way, because invariably every consumer goes, when they hear batteries and solar, it's going to back up my whole house.
Oh my God! And you should see
in that voice too. Sorry.
Yeah, and some of the shit that is being sold and installed.
Right. Some of the shit.
Yeah, and we're going to see a blackout. The first big blackout that happens, the socials will go nuts, because someone will say, "I bought this battery and I don't have power." And it happened. When was this? There was a big storm it was up around the Dandenong Ranges.
21 or 22. There was one in 2019. I think 21, 22.
I remember it clearly.
For 2 weeks.
Somebody had a battery, but they'd put the underfloor heating.
Hydronics.
Onto that. The battery onto that.
Good design.
And so there's this blackout, and suddenly this battery goes. Like, who the hell designed that?
Well, this is the
thing.
And
they should, But
you know what, you see what I mean? Like, you've got these people who are going out, and I don't know about you, but I still get bloody phone calls from people. Have you got solar, batteries, the whole bit? And I go to myself, I know, I've seen. You got people out there selling these way back, small batteries, and then going, yes, we can back the whole house. You can barely back up one circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And not
going to do 3-phase. There's no way.
This is the thing. So and then you go, hang on a sec. You got batteries, and now you're talking, and solar, and the grid, and now you're talking to vehicle to grid. Who the hell is going to be selling these systems unless they really know their shit?
Well, they do have to know it.
They have to know their shit really well.
Well, and the part for me is consumer protection as well. I might get myself in some hot water here, and that's okay.
Well, we can talk heat pumps too.
Sorry. This is a bit.
Dad joke
that was nice. That was nice. It's going to be a bit hotter than that, I think. So I'm also on the Solar Victoria Industry and Consumer Reference Group. It's amazing. Stan Krapan has done a sensational job with Solar Victoria program, and Kate Barnes as well. But anyway, side note, we were having a meeting with the SAA a couple of months ago about the accreditation program and how they audit different parts of our industry. And in Victoria, we've had a very, very intense approach to audit, and the fact that every battery system needs to be inspected. And you hear other states go, how the fuck do you do that? There's no way, excuse my language, but there's no way that that's going to flow. We can't do that. We've shown that you can. Now, where was I going with this? What were we talking about? Yes, the SAA, so consumer protection. And I'm sitting there, and this has been bugging me for a little while. Obviously, I work in solar proposals, right? And that OpenSolar is essentially a proposal design tool. A solar system and electrification of everything design tool that puts that into a beautiful proposal for the end customer. So it's that point where a customer gets that first idea of what system they're going to get and the price. Now, you and I know that as part of the regulations for SRES program, a proposal is meant to have X, Y, and Z, right? There's really specific points that they're meant to cover. You've got to do ROI calculations. Our platform's really great at doing all of that. All of those, the back-end stuff, but it's quite there's quite a list of requirements. And I asked the SAA because I had this sneaking suspicion. So the SAA themselves don't do any audits. Like, they will engage other bodies that do those audits for the program and make sure that accredited installers and designers are doing everything. I said, who audits proposals? Matter of interest. Should have probably known this earlier, given that, that's where I work. Kind of a bit of a dubious answer, and kind of fobbed off. And I said, hang on, are you telling me that there is no organisation or body within Australia that actually audits solar proposals that go to customers?
Wow, never thought about this.
Right, there are none. So,
wow.
So even though you and I and most really good quality people that are sending out, doing good designs and proposals, think that there are regulations, no one's checking that. No one's making sure that those proposals protect the customer, because that's why the regulations supposedly are there, right? So that the customer gets accurate information, and there's not dodgy solar down the road who's saying, oh, your return of investment is actually, you're going to have this system paid off in 2 years. When someone's being really diligent and making sure those calculations are accurate and saying, no, the payback's actually more like 5 years.
But how can the SAA check ROI and IRR, NPV and all those nitty gritties unless they open up the hood and go, let's have a look? How because you've got an accounting background.
Yes.
You know all about this stuff. It's fairly basic maths, but it's maths. But you got to see,
Well, they should be. They should be doing a sample size at least. No one is even looking at what's being sent out. And I know that there are proposals that are being sent out that are really lacking all of those requirements. And who's protecting the customer? So what recourse does a customer then have when they get a battery, there's a storm, they're 3-phase and they don't have power in that storm, and they're like, what's this rubbish that was sent to me? The first thing that anyone is going to ask them is, show me the proposal, right? Too late from the customer's perspective. It should say in that proposal that it won't do your 3-phase backup, or this is what you're selling, it's supposed to, but no one's checking it. And that is like the fundamental starting point of consumer protection. And if we're not looking at that, we're going to stuff our industry up royally, because first storm, and God forbid, I suspect it's actually going to be a fire, and it's going to be a fire where somebody is endangered or hurt or worse. And it's going to take something like that before people realise that there's crap out there and people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And unfortunately, what always happens in that scenario is the people that are doing the right thing just gets hit with more requirements, and there's more to do. But there needs to be somebody that is checking, auditing, making sure that what is going out is good. There's back of the envelope quotes. People aren't even sending quotes. So it's giving customers like a really, really putting them in a very, very terrible
because they're not, most customers in a residential perspective are not going to question. They're going to look at maybe payback, the most simple financial metrics.
Absolutely.
And if they're going to look at annualized ROI, they're not going to know about annualized ROI or any of those more advanced metrics, which are a true indication of the viability of the project.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have when I was selling solar, I'd get a customer would ring up and say, "Hey, you've quoted me a 10 kilowatt SIG Energy ICO job for this much, but you've said that I'll have it paid back within, or my savings will be." I'm making this up, $400 a year. I've got exactly the same quote from ABC Solar, and they're saying that I'm going to save $800. And
this has happened?
This used to happen. Wow. And be like, okay, and this is a fairly unique, where it's two identical systems, but trying to explain to a customer, I'm telling you the payback, like it's the same system. It's the same system. It's not going to perform differently. Well, it might if they do a shithouse install, right? It's not going to perform differently, but somebody's used a calculator that's giving you a different answer. This is what I have done in the calculation. So we have assumed that you're going to use this much power. People make it up to try and sell more solar, but no one checks that. And Bob and Joe next door are not expected to know that.
No, of course they're not.
And unfortunately, like a Solar Victoria EPIC program, they've really done well in how they've rolled with that over the years and made it a really top quality. That is really an example for the global standard where they've got to now, and hats off to the team. But I hear this still from customers. They think if they're buying a battery that Solar Victoria is going to cover them. Solar Victoria doesn't cover any of that. They only cover you now if you get a rebate that is part of the Solar Victoria program. Right. So if you've installed a solar system and you go back and get a battery, it's not covered by Solar Victoria, right? But you don't have any consumer protection because you've got this dodgy proposal.
Caveat emptor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's too much.
It is.
It's too much.
Well, this is because, like from a domestic perspective, they're not going to go into the details of it as like a commercial one. Let's face it, the commercial.
But they shouldn't have to.
They shouldn't have to.
They should not have to. They should trust that what they're being given meets all of the standards.
Fit for purpose.
Yeah.
And it's
it's not. And unfortunately, I think that we're about to get an absolute bloody rude awakening, and there are people out there that are going to really damage the reputation of our industry because they're installing shit. I've seen 50 kilowatt hour batteries. I know that there are 50 kilowatt hour batteries being sold for under $5,000 installed. Now, you tell me how that can be right.
That's almost, I don't know.
I'll have 10, thanks.
Not. I was going to say that's so cheap. Yeah. The issue with those also too is they're putting on these systems that are quite small, and there's the whole thing about the C charge rate of the battery, the discharge rate, how much is coming from the grid, when it's coming from the grid, and all this stuff that you've got to know your shit to even talk,
absolutely,
let alone programming it.
Yeah, and I have heard that in terms of the regulations, there's a real push by some organisations to make sure salespeople do a course. And I said, we've got the course, we've got accredited design course. Why make something else? Oh, because it's too expensive, it takes too long. Isn't that a good thing? Don't we want people that are selling all of these batteries and systems to understand? Because that's a power system on your house, and trying to explain to somebody it's huge, right? You're putting a power station on your house. Do you want your family to be living under a roof of something that could go up in flames tomorrow, or do you want to know that it's installed properly? And I am going to say that is not happening right now, and it's a danger when you get great rebates, and look, there's no arguing that has changed our entire industry in a time when it was slower, and it's really revolutionised the Australian solar industry, but it brings out all of these
cockroaches.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I'll give an example. Back when the $8,000 rebate was around, there was a company who should remain nameless was taking was taking no, this is pretty okay. So they were taking their people's deposits with no intention of ever installing
it.
So they were at the time there was pretty good interest rates, and from an accounting perspective, they were investing in the short-term money market. and making their bucks, and coming back 6 months later saying, "Nah, we can't install." Some people got their money back. The initial a lot didn't, and they made a freaking squillion because they were like there was crazy shit going on then at that time because there was anytime there's like money to be made, things like that, rebates. There's someone going, if I do this,
and this. I'm like,
Yeah.
how the hell did they work out that?
Creative accounting.
Oh,
Maybe. No,
Jesus.
sorry. But you know what I mean.
No, but they do it that quickly.
They do,
can
yeah.
find a loophole.
Yeah.
They know how to manipulate and get
Absolutely.
the most out of something. But it's to the detriment of the customers.
Everyone else. And to the industry and the customers, to all concerned.
Yeah, so I think we just really need to take stock of what we're doing and how we're doing it. We've already got some things in place. We don't need another sales course for designers. We don't. That's there. Like, for God's sake, let's use what we've got and not create something else that's new. But let's make sure what's going out, those proposals. The consumer protection side is really, really important. And if we're not making sure that that is entirely covered, we're going to end up in a place that we don't want to be. And let's just get back to what that's about. It's about your homeowners being comfortable and trusting in what they're purchasing, and they should be, that it's fit for purpose and that it's safe and they're not being ripped off.
It's funny. It's the classic case, like so many things, that even if we do something now, it's reactive when it ideally should be proactive. This stuff should have been thought out. But I do realise, like new products, if you wait till they're 100% right, like a program or something, it'll never get released, right? So there's this balance point where you want to get most of it okay, and then we'll try to fix this stuff. But it seems in solar, it's like, this happens, throw it out there. Now I can see the problem 6 months down the track. Like that, because you've shocked me with the proposal thing. I just assumed that this stuff would have been checked. And I think
I did too.
Most people would just assume that someone's checking it somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm wanting to push this further, so maybe you can join me and we can push this.
No, I'm happy to push it because
it's really important.
There's some people. Wow.
Sometimes these, with all the best intentions, policies and rebates are put in place by people sitting around a desk, and I'm not saying anything necessarily bad about them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that what happens in the real world is what they expect, and vice versa. Like, I've sat in meetings and I've gone like, are you serious? Do you want to actually know what happens? Do you want to know what happens on site? Because you've got a really bizarre view of it. Because they don't actually understand. Policymakers do not necessarily understand what is actually happening.
But surely after all these years of solar, they could do a little bit of an optimization exercise, or go, this happens and these are the possible outcomes, and do some...
Yeah. It's really, maybe...
You know what I mean?
They're just like, well, why would we spend money on checking the proposals as they should be? Or that's going to... And it would add an extra cost to the industry at some point, because somebody's going to have to set up some organisation that checks proposals and makes sure they adhere to X, Y, and Z. And NetCC is there, but
this is really interesting, because you're right. There's so you speak to some of our customers. They're doing commercial. A lot of them are doing commercial and domestic. And they go, we're not even doing commercial at the moment. A lot, because we're just
so busy.
Batteries.
Yeah.
And we deal a lot with Green Tech, AWM in Clayton, right? And they're really known for solar, and just batteries. It's just they virtually can't keep up, and everyone you speak to, batteries. It's crazy. So battery good, solar good. Some grid disruption, all these batteries not performing up to what the customer thought, their perceived idea of how systems work, which, by the way, as you said, a lot of the installers won't tell them that, no, this is not going to, but we're not even, hey, it's not a UPS, we're not backing up anything.
God. Yeah.
But you think, naturally, you think batteries, it's going to back something up.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They shouldn't have to know that their house is single phase or three phase. I installed a system for friends of mine, and he is a passive architect. So I worked with Kane for a long time to design this beautiful system, right, on this little house that they built. This is their This is their life project. They put in three-phase house. We set it all up, pre-wired it for future battery, installed, this would have been 2.5 years ago we installed this system. She sends me some messages the other day. So they have a Fronius Simo, three-phase, as I said. So we'd room in the switchboard, you'll be able to do this when the time is right. She's got a quote for this battery, which is not a battery that is a mainstream battery. It's not even a three-phase battery.
Right.
And the quote is horrendous.
High.
It is actually. I've seen really cheap ones, but she needs to do interest-free, right? She wants to do interest-free. And so they're charging a fortune for the ability to have a repayment with no upfront. But the battery, they're going to pull out that Fronius Simo and put on an absolutely substandard product that I don't even know if it's on the CEC list. I have to check. It would have to be, surely, because it would have to be. But she's like, well, why wouldn't I do this? So, sorry, don't get me wrong, it is a good price, but not the best price that I've seen, because they're going to make all these finance charges. And she's like, I don't understand, Sophie. I said, the system that you've put on is like platinum standard. Like that's your Rolls Royce. You've gone and put in something that's amazing for your forever home, and now it's like you got the Rolls Royce. Now you're like getting a Matchbox car, or I don't know, what's the shittiest car? I'm not a car person, so it's probably not a very good analogy.
Well, let's stick with Matchbox.
or the Lindt chocolate, which Lindt is a great chocolate, and you're putting on the cheap home brand instead.
Black and gold, maybe.
Yeah.
With no cocoa in it.
No, yeah, that's
sickly sweet.
Oh, why would you do that? Like you've made this investment, but how? You know what? How does she know that? She's not supposed to know that. She should trust that someone's going to design a system. This system will not do three-phase backup, so it's a good one. It's very relevant to our conversation. It's not going to perform as she expects, but there's nothing in what she's been sent that says any of that. It's nothing that even says to her that they're going to take the Simo off. And
wow.
It's like, well, they are, because, it's going to do this, this and this.
Now, you're a member of quite a few organisations with lots of different acronyms. I mean, and not to mention that you're a CPA. And what's a GAICD? What does that mean? Oh,
that's the Association of, company directors. So you go and do a course, and that means that you have done everything around being a company director. So if you want to go for positions on boards, it's a really great skill to have, because there's lots of compliance and regulatory requirements of directors. So I did that a few years ago. That's one. Founding member of AWISE, Australia Women in Solar Energy. I have passed the baton on now, so that's really exciting, because that's what should happen in an organisation. So I think they've got 4 board members at the moment. They've just had a bit of a shuffle and doing great things. So that's really about supporting women into the industry, and it's great to see how we have done that and made inroads. I remember going to my first solar industry event and nearly literally running away, being one of only a couple of women. And now it's really different, and it's great, and that's fantastic. and it's about supporting women into whatever they want to do, and when they're there, making sure that they feel confident and can go for those opportunities.
Because it's such an amazing industry for everyone.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? That's the thing.
Everyone. And I'm not saying I have a very kind of not your traditional view around what that looks like in the industry. I'm not saying that we need to have 50% of electricians on roofs installing solar. I think that it's my belief is that it's offering people the opportunity to feel comfortable and confident if that's what they want to do, or they want to work in an industry, and not about being tokenistic in any approach. So nothing gets under my skin more than somebody that will, an organisation that will have just some target without a reason and a quota. But that's a whole other discussion as well. So we probably
talk about our political parties.
But it's about being open and being encouraging and supportive. And the other one I mentioned earlier, Solar Victoria Industry and Consumer Reference Group, huge. It's one of the memberships that I think I've had for the longest out of anything that I've done. And the reason why is that, there's lots of working groups, and it's important from an industry perspective. And I hope you're on some. And if you're not, get yourself on a working group, because that's how you make change. Well, it's how you make change happen. But this one really has made change happen. And they've done an amazing job, Solar Victoria, of listening to the industry and making changes to the program so that it is better. And being able to watch that journey, and I mentioned Stan and Kate Barnes and all of the team there again, they have really done that. I think that's really important. There's no point complaining about something unless you're going to be part of it.
Good point.
You do a podcast, so I might give you a little bit of grace there, but get yourself involved in something that you're passionate about and you want to make change. And maybe that's this. Maybe we'll form some
growing
working group.
tomatoes and garlic.
That's a very good cause. And some fresh basil, please, with some burrata.
Oh, nice. Nice food.
Yeah, food's good. But maybe we'll set up a working group and get proposals, solar proposals, and customer protection at that point.
It's funny. I've never really thought about that, because I've always gone, I've been around for a while, but I'm surrounded with some very smart people. And I'm smart enough to know that I'm fairly smart, but there's much smarter people than me. And they're the ones who are involved in all of these things. But maybe it's the wrong way of looking at it. After listening to what you've just said, bugger it. I mean, because we only live once.
Absolutely.
And I'm towards the end of my career age-wise.
You just become a grumpy old man.
I'm already... Oh my God, that's perfectly labelled. I
didn't say that. I don't think you're grumpy at all.
No, you're just saying the best side of me. But it's a really good point. I've never really thought like that. Yeah,
because I tell you what, there's actually stupid people everywhere making stupid decisions, and if you don't raise some of these things, they might just make even stupider decisions.
But you learn from stupid people, though, can't you? Not to be not like them.
Oh, yeah, I hope. I don't know.
Wow. I'm really going to think about this, Sophie, really.
Good.
It's a really... You're the first guest who's actually mentioned anything like that at all. Actually, the first guest who's ever quizzed me about, so what did you study? I was like, oh, my God, what am I going to say? Like a final note on OpenSolar, you mentioned about commercial. You do commercial
yes, we do.
projects. So that's a lot more complicated than the domestic. A lot more layers. I mean, and there's the scale of it as well. Absolutely,
and different considerations and different products as well. So we have a lot of solar installers and businesses that will use OpenSolar to do both resi and commercial, and it works really well. So it can be done if you're going really, really big, and you were talking earlier about like solar farms and like massive megawatt big projects, then you know what, you're probably going to go for a specific commercial product. But if you're in that space and you're doing like still big commercial products, installations, you can absolutely do that in OpenSolar.
C&I stuff with
C&I,
battery storage.
yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a lot of these.
They're coming, aren't they?
They are
Yep.
coming.
I told you I was in Shanghai. I saw all of that stuff.
Wow.
It was incredible. So, yeah, some really cool C&I products coming as well. You can do all of that. They are in OpenSolar. I've been talking to these manufacturers literally in the last week. So they're all there. The products are there, all the spec sheets and everything is there. Obviously, when it's a commercial product, that looks a bit different. And we put different information in because you're generally talking to a large business that wants different things than a resi customer.
You're talking to CFO sometimes.
Absolutely.
And tell you what.
Yeah, and we have the ability to format the proposal so it looks different for your commercial projects to your resi. Because, if it's a CFO, they don't necessarily want to see a fluffy video or care about that. They want to know facts.
Hard facts.
Yeah, hard facts. Is this gonna do what is it? And it can be shaped to look exactly like you want your commercial projects to look like, and so that proposal is seen and that proposal wins.
That's excellent. So for anyone watching, like say there's installers out there who are doing domestic, they're doing commercial, doing both, and they haven't tried OpenSolar.
Yep.
And this is a direct plug, and I don't usually do this, but I'm really impressed and fascinated, especially the way you've described things and what it can actually do, because I just didn't realise. What would you say to them if they're doing their own proposals or whatever? What would you say to them?
So anyone can open up an OpenSolar account. You could do it tomorrow. OpenSolar.com, open it up. It's that easy, right? That's all you need to do. I appreciate that moving from one system or platform to another is scary and involves change. And change for some people is terrifying. We actually can assist and support you in your onboarding and hold your hand and make that simple. So don't be scared. Contact us via opensolar.com. You can do it, right? Yeah, go to a website. If you can't go to a website, I don't know. You can do all of that. You can do everything from there. Get in touch with us. We can help you, but don't be scared, because sometimes it's about just taking that leap and doing enough research to know that you've got what you need to do that. Because if you don't make a change when you should, it's like not getting rid of that project manager, right? A year down the track, you're going to be like, bloody hell, I wish I'd done that.
Yes.
And you're going to get more into it and it's going to be harder. And so make the change, get it right, set yourself up, and then go for gold, because it's all about having the right tools for what you need. Sage
words. I thoroughly enjoyed the time we've spent today talking. There's so much we covered, but looking at the brief, there's so much that we haven't covered. And look, when you've got the time, I'd really like you to come back for a part 2. We can talk about this in more detail, because we didn't talk about your views on FCAS and arbitrage and all that stuff.
Lots.
There's lots to talk. So
all the tariff space. Let's do that.
Let's do a full forensic. That would be really good.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you. No, that was good.